Welcome, everybody, to the Proactive Adventure Health and Wellness Podcast. I am honored to be here today with Salam Diri, the owner of SannaOhana, a yoga cannabis community.
Yeah, and wellness company.
I went to high school with Salam. I haven't seen him in years, so this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
How you doing
today? Thank you for having me. I'm doing
Absolutely,
great.
man. Thank you for coming out here.
For sure, no problem.
So tell me a little bit about SannaOhana.
So SannaOhana is a cannabis yoga wellness company where we create events and we do education for the community, where we talk about the endocannabinoid system, and people get to see and experience what it is to feel their endocannabinoid system. And then you can use that to heal and be balanced, which is what the endocannabinoid system does. It creates homeostasis in the body, which allows you to be balanced and allows you to heal properly and allow your other systems to work well. So we've been doing cannabis yoga for 6 years now.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, and we just enjoy educating people and empowering them to use the plant, the endocannabinoid system, and natural alternative medicine to take care of themselves and the community.
That's awesome, man. There's a little crossover between what I did and what you're doing. When I started Proactive, it's just a little bit after you started SannaOhana.
Yeah.
And it's all based on wellness and health and community and experience, which I love.
Yeah.
And I met you probably, 20-something years ago? Is that about right?
In high school.
Back in high school.
Yeah.
You were a beast on the wrestling team back then, man.
I was okay, yeah.
You were okay. You're okay. You're being humble about it.
Yeah.
Well, you win some championships, didn't you?
Yeah. I was team captain. We had a great season. Won a lot of tournaments, won a lot of championships, and then went on to use wrestling to do everything else in life. You know, I feel like once you do wrestling, you can do everything else, because wrestling is really tough. It's like one of the toughest sports.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of use that wrestling mentality for everything else.
That's awesome, man. What got you into wrestling to start with? When did that begin?
So I actually didn't have much interest in wrestling. I was a football player. I was originally like a gymnast, and I did gymnastics for about 5 years, and then I did football, basketball, baseball, and my football coach, my freshman year, Coach Maeda, Jerry Maeda, told me I should wrestle. I'll be a good wrestler, and I was like, nah, I'm okay. And he's like, it'll make you a better football player. And I was like, oh, really?
He got you in like that.
So I was like, all right, I really like football. So I was like, let me try wrestling. And I tried wrestling, and I loved it, and it became my favorite sport. And the rest is history. I still help coach wrestling, and I grapple, so it's still in me.
You're still in there.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So it didn't take very long for you to get into wrestling once you started.
No, I feel like I was like a natural wrestler, and my dad's Iraqi, and that was actually one of the first words I learned was arka, which is to wrestle. Mm-hmm. And we just used to go at it, my dad and I on the floor, as you know. So I played other sports, and then when I got into wrestling, I just really enjoyed it, and it's kind of natural, and not really natural, but the passion for it was natural. I did have to put a lot of work into it, because it's all about technique and strategy, and you got to learn as much as you can.
It's mano-a-mano out there, man.
It is. It is
not a team to rely on, really.
No, you can't blame anybody but yourself.
You can't.
Yeah.
You guys had an exciting team, though. I remember that quite fondly.
We did. We had a really fun team.
Welcome to the jungle.
We ran out to Welcome to the Jungle like maniacs every time.
So when you graduated high school, it's funny because I knew you after high school. We had plenty of interactions after that. But what did you do after high school? Because I never really don't remember, at least.
Yeah. Well, after high school, I went to college. I went to Rutgers, Newark, and I became a personal trainer.
Okay.
Also right away, which I've been a trainer like 20 years now.
That's your career.
It kind of was my career, and now I'm in the cannabis industry. But that was my career. I was a personal trainer, gym owner, gym manager for a long time. and just help build communities, help build health and fitness communities, martial arts communities, different kinds of communities in wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into cannabis, also like right out of high school, kind of in high school. High school got me into cannabis.
Okay, that's when you tried it out.
Yeah.
And when did you start to see like the benefits of cannabis?
Actually kind of right away, because I grew up with a lot of like crazy friends, so we kind of started drinking in like 5th, 6th grade, in North Bergen. I think it's kind of normal.
Yep.
And then when I started smoking, I think it was like 7th, 8th grade, I kind of realized there was a huge difference than drinking. Drinking, I would go home drunk, like my mom knew.
Yeah.
And then, if I smoked a little bit, it wasn't as bad. So I kind of just kept that in my head. But socially at the time, more people were trying to drink, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, us in high school. So then what happened was my senior year in wrestling was really stressful. I had a bunch of injuries, but I never missed practice or any matches.
Mm-hmm.
But wrestling is just so stressful as it is. So once wrestling finished, a lot of my friends were like, "Hey, dude, like you should start smoking again," because I didn't smoke at all during wrestling season.
Okay, so you took a break.
Yeah, I did take a break during wrestling because I wanted to keep my cardio like top. Even though now I smoke it, if I go run or if I go do jujitsu or even compete, I'll still smoke a little bit before.
You can find a balance,
Right, exactly. But so I started smoking, and around that time, like a lot of other strains were hitting us, like the Piff, Haze, Uptown Haze, Sour Diesel. Ironically, now I'm actually friends with a lot of these Uptown Haze Piff guys that were the original creators and growers of these strains back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But so those strains got started. We started smoking them, and my brain kind of changed because I was getting kind of higher on a different level, much happier high, and I was like, all right, this kind of helped with my wrestling stress. That was good. And then kind of just got really heavy into it then.
So even back then, when most people were around you smoking and drinking for a different type of high, you were seeing positive benefits in the way you were feeling?
Yeah. And also, I feel like everybody, even if they're drinking and smoking, they're medicating to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. Like even people that drink, they're trying to relieve stress. So they're kind of medicating with alcohol.
Yeah.
I stopped drinking about like 3-4 years ago. I had a very close friend that passed away because of alcohol and mental health.
Yeah.
But so I kind of stopped with alcohol, and I felt a huge benefit. But I feel like everything could be abused, like even
True.
water, or certain foods, So alcohol is one of those. Cannabis too, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I ask myself like, am I abusing it? And I'll kind of like chill out a bit or whatever. But that's what's great about cannabis, that even if you abuse it, the worst thing that can happen is you'll go to sleep, and your endocannabinoid system really doesn't get affected, or your other systems get affected.
It snaps back pretty quick.
Laziness, that's on you. Don't blame cannabis. All right, guys.
I like that.
Don't blame cannabis. All right.
Yeah.
You're the lazy one. But it does make you a little drowsy. THC soaks up eats up the magnesium in your body, which takes away a lot of your energy.
Okay.
So that's why people get groggy and tired. So all you got to do is properly intake magnesium, either through like sea salt or foods or vitamins.
I never
with
made that
magnesium.
connection. I never really realized that was the reason.
Yeah, I learned that like 2 years ago. I wish I would have learned that a long time ago, but then I started taking magnesium supplements and using magnesium oil before I sleep. I was actually using it for a while, and you sleep a lot better.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, 100%. I highly suggest using magnesium oil.
So use magnesium if you're going to smoke some weed.
Yes, for sure.
That's good to know.
Or eat it in your foods, but it's definitely important to to have your minerals.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk now. So you're being a personal trainer. Let's just jump to like 2016.
Okay.
Because then, from what I understand, when did you meet Steph? I'm sorry, I wanted to bring her up.
Yeah.
When did you meet Steph? What year was that?
I met Steph actually 2010. I
2010.
think, at a party
Okay.
and at a rave, in Union City. And then we actually hooked up like 2 years later,
Okay.
2012. And then we were kind of like hooking up for like a year and a half, and she went away to college. And then, long story short, we got back together 2016.
So 2016.
Yeah,
From what I read, it said that she was diagnosed with Lyme disease,
yeah,
and you got a bicep tear.
yeah,
Both in 2016.
yeah.
Wow.
Within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
How did you tear your bicep? What happened there?
Good question. It's a result of overtraining. I think it's a huge problem in America and in the world and in fitness actually. Like people just overtraining, trying to do too much, trying to compete against other people, and abusing some substances, steroids, and abusing their body and supplements. Like people don't understand that your body cannot grow or recover unless you rest. So
Absolutely.
and also you can't always work out to 100%.
Yeah.
Because then you can't work out as much or recover as much.
Uh-huh.
So I think that was my lesson here. I was
So what was your regimen like back then?
oh my God, dude. I was at the time I was like a general manager at a UFC gym in Hoboken.
Okay, that
I'm
says
sorry,
a lot already right there.
at a UFC gym in Edgewater. I really enjoyed my job, by the way. I was like a general manager, trainer, taught classes, signed people up. I started a jiu-jitsu program, a capoeira program, and I was skydiving at the time. I had like a couple hundred skydives at the time.
I do recall. That's right. You were a big skydiver.
I started my first skydive was like 2008, and then I got my license 2010, and I pretty much jumped up until like 2017. So at that time of my injury, here's my
Oh wow, yeah, you can see that scar
Yeah.
nice and clear.
my tendon snapped.
When
Yep.
did that happen? Like, in what moment did that happen?
So I was doing a capoeira. It's actually on video. It's on my Instagram. Somebody was recording me when I was playing. I was doing capoeira Angola in Harlem with Master Joao Grande, who's probably the most world-renowned capoeira master in the world. He lives in Harlem, and his school's in Harlem. So it was after my bachisado. The next day, I was hungover, and I already had a slap tear injury from, again, jiu-jitsu. I got it from jiu-jitsu like a month and a half before.
Okay.
From not warming up. But I already had like an issue with my shoulder. Like I said, I was doing like capoeira, lifting, jiu-jitsu, skydiving, partying.
You were packing it in, man.
Packing it, working, and thinking nothing's gonna happen. Like I can overtrain. Wrong. Definitely suggest not overtraining. Sorry, that was my phone. My girl's
good.
calling me.
All good.
Steph, why are you calling me right now? So I got injured in jiu-jitsu. It kind of got worse. I kept training, and it got worse. And I'm like, man, all right, I got to stop training so it can heal.
Yeah.
And then because I had a bachisado, which is like my graduation for capoeira, in mid-October, I did that event, partied that night, got drunk. The next day, got invited to play capoeira in Harlem, and my tendon snapped. I also left my bottle of water in the car, which it was like all the factors were against
yeah.
me that day. But that injury helped change my life because I went from focusing on like just performance and working hard and grinding to learning how to recover and heal and what I call working in, because when I had my injury, I wasn't able to work out. Or even
Yeah, you gotta change everything.
Or even after my surgery. My surgery was worse than my injury. Man, that was a really rough surgery. And I had to learn how to work in and heal from within using my breath, using the Wim Hof method. I trained with Wim Hof 3 times. I actually got to train with Wim Hof like a few weeks before my surgery in Westchester. Was his first workshop, what really helped. And I also used cannabis, CBD, RSO, no opioids, no painkillers, and then eventually yoga and hot yoga to heal. And I healed super fast. And I also, at the time, I was building my first gym in Hoboken. I had 2 partners, my jiu-jitsu coach at the time and my capoeira coach.
So it's going to be a martial arts gym?
I did. That's what I opened in 2016.
Yep.
A month or 2 after my injury.
Ooh.
So I had to build a gym with one arm.
One-armed man building a gym.
And I actually had to teach class. You know, I'm the kind of person that if, you know, I don't show weakness. Like, you know, I think through my parents and also through sports and wrestling, like...
Wrestling a lot, I'm sure.
You know, you just can't show weakness. You know what I mean? That's when you got to show more strength. When you're really strong and you got a lot, that's when you got to maybe show weakness.
Yep,
you know what I mean? But at the time I was injured and I couldn't really tell people I was injured. I had one arm and then invite them to my new gym.
Yes.
So luckily it was like October, November. It was like hoodie season. So I would just wear hoodies, keep my arm in my hoodie, in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I would just train my clients and teach classes. And a lot of my friends didn't even know about my injury because I didn't want to tell because these people talk so much.
Yeah.
You know, so I couldn't really tell people about my injury. So I ended up opening up that gym, did construction with one arm, you know, like carried mats, rubber mats, you know, jiu-jitsu mats on my head with like one arm.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. It was a lot of fun trying to figure things out. But, you know, I focused on healing and I healed quickly. At the same time, Steph was battling Lyme's disease and she was just being prescribed a lot of antibiotics.
That was a question I wanted to ask you. Like when you went to the doctors, what was their solution for your recovery?
I mean, I went to the emergency room. They told me, you need emergency surgery right away. What's your insurance? And
Of course,
I said,
that's the first question.
I said, I have no insurance. And they were literally like, ooh, we'll be right back. And they walked out of the room.
That's not a good sign.
Left me in there. And I was like, are you kidding me? And they came back in and they're like, sorry, we're not going to do surgery on you.
Really?
Your injury is not life-threatening. Your injury is going to look ugly. That they use the word ugly, and you're going to have half your strength for the rest of your life.
So they gave you like a grim diagnosis right off the bat.
First they told me they can give me surgery and help me out, and then they told me they can't help me out at all.
Quick flip.
And I'm going to have to live with that. So I got pissed. I left, and then I had to talk to doctors. No doctors wanted to see me or do surgery on me because I had no insurance. Luckily, one of my clients, Mike Godino, shout out to Mike Godino. He saved my arm. I love this man. He worked for the building department at Palisade Hospital, which ironically was the emergency room that I went to.
Okay.
And he got me emergency Medicaid, got me 80% of my surgery covered. I still had to put like $4,000 down. Which, you know,
Man,
was enough. I already had all my money invested in my gym that I was building.
do the math on that. That's crazy amount for surgery.
Crazy. The surgery was like 20-something thousand, you know. So anyways, got the surgery done and just focused on healing. At the same time, trying to help Steph heal because she had Lyme disease and her left leg got swollen, her hip, because we later learned that our lymphatic system, we have more lymphatic glands and drainage on our left side. So that's why she was swelling up on her left hip.
Okay.
So antibiotics were really messing her up. And I told her, I'm like, listen, you got to stop the antibiotics. We have to find natural solutions, you know.
So it was your idea.
I kind of pushed her towards that. And or presented it to her, and after her like third or second round of antibiotics, and she's like, "You're right. Like, I got to try something else. I mean, Wim Hof was doing wonders for me. Cannabis was doing wonders for me. The hospital gave me painkillers. When I left the hospital, I still couldn't sleep. I had my friend bring me over some brownies. I slept 8 hours straight woke up, forgot I had surgery.
Ah, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I was like, man, these edibles, this cannabis is the truth. Like, I'm definitely gonna use this to heal a lot. And Steph started doing also breathing exercises. She saw an herbologist, all natural herbologist. Shout out to Jim, Integrative Herbalism in Kinnelon,
There
New
we go.
Jersey. And then also she used like a bioenergetic frequency therapy. It's like a Rife machine,
Okay.
kinda. And that also helped her. And then also changing her diet, just taking really good care of herself. She was able to fight Lyme disease and pretty much recover 100%. And, you know, we used breathing exercises, cannabis, and yoga to heal pretty quickly. We were like, wow, we really need to show other people that they can do this themselves too. We knew a lot of people suffering from prescription problems, surgery problems, like, you know, just even cancer and other things. So we started just learning about the endocannabinoid system. I didn't even know we had one until like 2016. And, you know, we have receptors in our body for cannabinoids that we get externally from the earth, or we create internally ourselves.
Yeah.
And cannabinoids are pretty much, they create signals to receptors in our body to do functions, you know, to heal, to digest, to recover, to be happy, you know.
Question for you. Did you guys do yoga before before the injury and the diagnosis, or was this something that you picked up after the injury?
We did do it before.
Yeah.
Like Steph has been doing yoga since she was 16. I started doing yoga in my mid-20s, just a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of easy for
You were
us
able
to
just
pick it up.
integrate it into everything else.
It was. We're pretty athletic. Steph's very athletic. She used to be like a salsa teacher, and she taught yoga. She's also a swimmer. So she was able to kind of like tap into her breath pretty quickly. I feel like swimmers are able to do that really well. And yeah, we ended up just learning a lot, and we love sharing any positive things that we know with people to help them. And that's what we've been doing ever since.
So what was that? When was the moment where you two decided to start SannaOhana?
That's a great question.
I've been dying to know.
Okay. So it's actually a really good point right now that you bring it up, because what happened was in 2017, 2016, I opened up my gym, and then in Hoboken, it was called the Academy, and we did jujitsu, capoeira, yoga at the time. We decided we just wanted to learn yoga for ourselves. And to also teach others. So we kind of started our yoga teacher training around there. We started at end of 2017, but we took other smaller courses before that to learn about teaching yoga. And we're like, all right, this is what we want to do. We actually kind of learned about acroyoga, and we started learning a lot of acroyoga while we were learning yoga, because we were both injured and we were both able to do acroyoga. So we were like, wow, we're both injured and we can both do acroyoga. Like, acroyoga is also pretty cool. So acroyoga is acrobatic partner yoga, where you can do acroyoga with 2 or more people. You could even have large groups of people doing a really dope acroyoga pose or movement. So that was 2017. But what happened in the middle of 2017 was I went to I got invited. Somebody was like, dude, you know, they're doing legal cannabis in New Jersey and New York. And I'm like, no way. Like, what? Like, I got to see this. I'd like to get involved. He's like, yeah, there's an event in New York called High and Y, where it's a legal cannabis education event. And I'm like, I want to go. So I went to this event, High and Y. It was at a really nice co-working space in New York. And I saw like professionals everywhere, trappers, you know, doing their thing.
Yep.
Like, it was like a community, like a thing. And I'm like, wow, I really need to get involved in this. And that moment I was like really high. I was like, wow, how am I gonna start this new dream? And I just started one dream. Like I just opened up my gym.
Yep.
But I need to do cannabis like right now. Like I know I have a sense of urgency. Like I know what it means to like really, you see an opportunity, you got to take it. I'm like, I got to do this now.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, what can I do? Well, I'm good at health and fitness. Let me do cannabis, health and fitness. And I'm like, you know what? Let me try to create like something more of a niche and more impactful, because that's really general.
Yeah.
I feel like cannabis and fitness. I'm like, yoga, duh. I'm doing yoga right now. It's changing our lives. I can change the individual. I can change families. I can change communities. I could change the perception with yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that's it. I'm going to do cannabis yoga. So even in that event, people are coming up to me like, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I do cannabis yoga.
I love that. You started pushing it right away.
Right away.
That's awesome.
Right away. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. So like, what do you do? Like education? And I'm like, yeah, we do education. And they're like, but there's no money in education, right? But these are like dudes in suits. You know what I
they're
mean?
looking at things differently.
Like they don't know the industry, And I'm like, all right. So they think there's no money in it. There must be money in it.
There must be money in it,
There
right?
must be money in it. And I'm like, I'm onto something if people don't think, like, I know, I never try to follow the masses. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
The masses usually are going the wrong way. I'm usually trying to go another way, do it differently. So then I was like, all right. And I went home that night. Shout out to Mike Z from High and Y. We became great friends after that. He actually just had a High and Y event last week, and I told him like, dude, like I was inspired to get into the cannabis industry. I started my cannabis yoga event company with my girlfriend, and that helped us get cannabis licenses in New Jersey, in my hometown. Like, thank you so much for having an awesome event and platform for people like myself to get involved and connect with others. And he's such a great friend. He was like, dude, you got it, bro. Like,
it's really cool that you had like a test audience when you're coming up with the idea, because you're able to talk to people at that cannabis event.
I did.
About like cannabis yoga. How's that feel to you?
I like to test things on people.
Uh-huh.
First, I tried on myself, and then I tried on other people, and then I see that it works. And it worked.
Yeah, because you saw the positive benefits of both yoga and of cannabis.
Yeah, and I was a trainer. I was a trainer for 20 years, and I was also kind of helping some of my clients get cannabis to help them for their issues, if it was sleeping or pain or anxiety or just mood or dealing with their family or their work. Just cannabis helps you so much, just deal with anything.
Yeah.
If used properly, if it's for you, So to me, to educate people using cannabis and yoga kind of came pretty natural.
Well, because you're already in the world, like you're already driven by helping people, by being a personal trainer. Like, you already have that in your, in your mind.
Yeah.
How did you find? So you start SannaOhana.
Yeah.
Like, where was your first step? How do you start finding people that are going to get in there with you?
Well, so I owned a gym at the time, and while we were doing our teacher training, part of our teacher training was to teach. So they were like, hey, students, you got to teach, and then you got to write on your teaching and let us know how it went.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, great. Like, I own a gym, and my yoga instructors were amazing. I trained at Warrior Bridge in New York, which is a very like diverse style of yoga training. It's like has old school, like Iyengar and some vinyasa, and then it has a lot of like new school concepts like acroyoga and therapeutics and like philosophy and stuff like that. So we were able to learn a lot, and they were like, Salam, Steph, you guys just kind of, start teaching some of your friends, And I'm like, I'm going to do it at my gym. And I'm like, actually what happened was we were doing a lot of acroyoga at Warrior Bridge in New York, and we would get like really sore, and I was taking CBD at the time, and CBD wasn't like that popular at that time.
Yeah.
It was like a thing, but it was
kind of just breaking through,
breaking
right?
through, especially around here in the East Coast. That was, I guess, 2017. So then I started offering some of my classmates in yoga for teacher training, and even some of the instructors that were doing acroyoga. It wasn't a teacher training, but we were in the program. I was offering them CBD, and they were like, "Wow, I feel good. Like my soreness went away. I feel recovered." And I'm like, "All right, it's working." They're like, "Salam, I like this acroyoga and CBD, because I'm not really high, and I can still function, and my body feels good." And I'm like, if these high-level athletes, these high-level yogis love it, I think it's a thing. So then that's when I was like, all right, you know what? Let's focus on CBD, yoga and CBD.
Especially because that was legal back then. Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
And of course, you could consume cannabis if you want, but we kind of focus on that. And that helped us get started. It was like a whole process in 2017 of like just discovering ourselves and what we wanted to do for ourselves and for the community and for others. And so we started Sanna, and also we went to Hawaii for the first time in December 2017, and we went to the Big Island. We went to Oahu and the Big Island. This is where Ohana comes in.
Okay, what's that mean?
Ohana means family.
Okay.
In Hawaiian, and
You ever seen Lilo and Stitch?
I not recently.
yeah. So we went to Hawaii, and everywhere we went, we were just treated like so well by the locals, by the Hawaiian people, even people living. Everybody was just, the Hawaiian energy was amazing. And then the Big Island, like we just really felt the energy in the Big Island. Like a lot of magical, crazy things happened. I don't want to go off on tangents in the Big Island. And we were like, wow, this island is very powerful. And we learned about aloha. Aloha is, when you say it, you have to like breathe in and breathe out. So it's like aloha. And then they repeat it back, aloha also. So it's actually sharing one breath.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, wow, that's awesome. We're learning about breathing. We're sharing breaths here in the Big Island. Aloha, aloha, aloha everywhere.
Yep.
And then Ohana means family, and so Sanna in Sanskrit means perception. We wanted to focus. Our main focus is perception through knowledge and education, because we feel like to change someone's reality, you have to first change their perception. But to change someone's perception, you really need to work on what they know and their knowledge. Like that's what's going to influence your perception, is what you know.
Yeah.
So through proper education, the issue is, unfortunately, people lack education on health and wellness, how to take care of themselves, how to take care of others, how to manage stress, how to manage their emotions, how to manage energy, how to manage the environment.
Do you think it's a lack of education, or are they somehow being fed the wrong information from certain places?
It's both.
Both, okay.
Yeah, like our system purposely wants us to have a lack of information on health and nutrition, because then we would quickly discover that a lot of the things that we're doing are really bad for us. A lot of the food that we're eating, the processed food, the genetically modified food.
Yep.
Like the water, the air, the environment, the media. Like, I'm not gonna go off on these crazy tangents right now, but most of these
I
things,
don't want to jump in there either, because I'll go off with you.
Most of these things are bad for you. So they purposely create a lack of education. So what do we have to do? We have to educate ourselves. So we have to educate ourselves, about each other, the environment, the soil, the plants, the earth. We have to have like a holistic point of view on things. So
Ground up.
From the ground up, so we really understand what's causing what and how to correct things. You know what I mean? So that's why Sanna means perception in Sanskrit. We want to create education to enhance people's perception, to enhance people's reality. And we put Ohana in there because we want to create a community, a family.
It's important.
Of these kind of people, perceptive people. And also sana in Spanish, sanar means to heal.
Oh, that's great.
And we're both Spanish, we're both Colombian. We love educating our community, changing the stigma in our community. Steph comes from a Colombian background where her mom was very open to cannabis, and my mom was not. My mom was very strict, and my dad also. My dad's from Iraq. Both were kind of very strict. So I was seen a certain way for a long time. And I always used to tell my mom, even like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like, Ma, I'm not a bad person. You know, what are you going to do in 10 years when this is completely legal?
Yeah.
And it's a medicine and it's everywhere. Are you still going to think it's bad? And she was like, ay, salam, you know, like she didn't think it was going to happen, but it happened.
Yeah, it happened.
You know, and
you saw the future.
I had a little bit of insight on what we needed. And I had an idea that it was coming in the future, you know.
So what was the first step in your when you started educating people? Like, what was your first step on that ride, on that journey?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of everything, like learning about yourself, self-awareness, but then also learning about, again, the endocannabinoid system, learning what it does. It's a system just like your digestive system, just like your respiratory system, but it's a system where it has receptors externally, your skin, your muscles, your bones, and then also internally you have receptors, your spine, your internal organs, your brain, your eyes, your lungs, your digestive organs, your reproductive organs. They all have endocannabinoid receptors. And your endocannabinoid system, if it's running well and it's balanced, all your other systems are going to be running well and balanced. So they can function. You're going to have good circulation, good digestion, good respiration, everything. You get me? So, and also, we quickly learned that through, again, learning from other cannabis scientists and professionals, that's really what helped us initially, was we became connected to cannabis scientists and doctors and professionals.
So you did research. You seek these people out and did research.
Yes, we became friends with them. Like the Knox Docs is a wonderful family out in Portland, Oregon. And they're a whole family of endocannabinoid specialists, and they have the first endocannabinoid clinic in the U.S. And we were lucky enough to meet them in the Virgin Islands at a cannabis conference. I think that was in the beginning of 2018. We had already known about the endocannabinoid system, but like once we met them, they helped us understand it at a very simple level, like when we can all kind of talk about it. Yeah. It does get really complex, but at least at a simple fundamental level, we learned quickly through them, and that's how we kind of just became more complex. Steph also she went to school for biology and chemistry to be a veterinarian, so she ate that side up real quick, you know, and yeah, you know, it's just a lot of self-education and also connecting with like-minded people or people that you want to learn from. You know, and we were lucky that the cannabis industry is so small and so new that we were able to connect with high level people.
That's
kind
right,
of
it was a fresh industry,
easily and quickly because it was such a small industry.
So question for you about the endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
Aside from consuming, cannabis, how else can you improve the endocannabinoid system?
I'm so happy you said that because I was about to mention that, but I kind of mentioned the Knox Docs. But I learned this through them, is that you don't have to just stimulate your endocannabinoid system with cannabis. Cannabis is external cannabinoids from plants are called phytocannabinoids.
Okay.
So those come from not just cannabis plants, but all fruits, vegetables, and herbs that have cannabinoids, or have also terpenes. There's cannabinoids and there's terpenes.
Okay.
Cannabinoids, they're two separate things. Like terpenes are more like the oil, the fatty aroma, and then the cannabinoid is a more specific molecule within that fatty compound.
Okay.
So back to your question, other ways to stimulate your endocannabinoid system: breathing, meditating, singing, dancing, laughing, working out, nutrition, making love, and cooperation.
Cooperation.
Yes, community. Just me helping you or you helping me releases endorphins. Our body knows it's good for
That's it.
us, and it stimulates our endocannabinoid system. And those are 9 things.
Yeah.
And cannabis. So those are 10 ways, 9 not including cannabis, 9 ways that you could stimulate and balance your endocannabinoid system without cannabis. So that's why people love breathing. They love meditating. They love singing. They love dancing. They love laughing. They love working out. They love making love. They love eating, and they love cooperating because it's good for them.
Yeah.
It creates balance within.
So it's all like oxytocin and all that, like the chemicals.
Anything that moves and stimulates your spine and your kind of central nervous system and your organs and your muscles, everything will stimulate your endocannabinoid system to a certain extent. So there's many ways
A lot of options
in
there.
doing it. Yeah, you could create, you could get cannabis, cannabinoids and terpenes from mangoes, from pepper, from algae, from a lot of roots, herbs, beer hops have
a lot there then.
yeah, beer hops make you sleepy, and so there's many different compounds out there that can help.
That's good to know. That was a question I was really interested in asking you.
Yeah,
So SannaOhana starts in 2016, right?
yeah,
So what's your first event that you hold where you invite the public to come?
yeah.
To you.
So it was actually we did like 1 or 2. Remember I told you our instructors were like, "Oh, go teach class."
Yeah.
So we did like 1 or 2 small classes, and like both of us were so passionate and like so ready to teach that we're like, we can teach, So we're like, all right, let's just do an event, and let's do like even before in that gym that I had, my other partners didn't know. Sorry, Boca. He's my Capoeira coach, Master Boca. But when we taught classes there, and there were stoners, like say we were teaching yoga, acroyoga, we were like, hey, you guys want to smoke before class?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, sure. So we would like smoke before class. So then we were like, all right, let's just do a cannabis yoga event. Like, let's make it a thing now.
Yeah.
And we did that. That was in 2017.
So you threw it up on social media and all that?
No,
you didn't. How did you promote it?
No, just word of mouth
word of
through
mouth.
friends. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because again, we were just kind of like it was.
Just getting your feet
we
wet on
weren't. We
this?
weren't like. We didn't know if we were even good at it yet. It was like our third time teaching
Yeah.
yoga, and we were doing cannabis yoga in my gym, and like I made it like a party. I think I even hired like a DJ, a friend of mine, and like, and I'm like, I want to make. I already had this vision, like, because I know how people are. Like, people rather party than work out. A lot of people in our area,
Absolutely.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get them to work out. I'm gonna bring a part, have them party there.
Yeah.
So they have both there. They have a workout and a party, and they have a community, and they have education, and I'm gonna have vendors and food to help change the stigma. Like that was already in my vision.
It's overcoming stigmas about things like that.
Yeah.
You have to throw in those little, things to get people in there. I totally get that.
Yeah, and just show that it's safe. Show that it's a positive thing. So so that's what we did.
I got a question. Like, for the people that did come,
Yeah.
were they like already into yoga, or did you kind of get them into yoga?
Some of them were our friends, our clients from training. Some of them did yoga. Actually, a lot of them never did yoga, and that's actually the beauty of our yoga company and practice, that we happen to get a lot of beginners, like a lot of new people, and I guess people kind of see us like breaking stigmas and like just trying new things.
Yeah.
So they're also like, hey, let's try this yoga. It's CBD yoga. It's also cannabis. We're pretty inclusive. We tend to have a lot of men too, and
I found it so hard because I've done doing yoga for years.
Yeah.
And I that's like my first thing that got me into working out. Like that started my fitness journey. And
Yeah.
every time not every time, but most times I tell a man who doesn't do yoga that he should,
Yeah.
they look at me like I'm crazy.
yeah,
It's hard.
it's hard. It's
It's interesting that you got a lot of men out there.
yeah, and I would ask the guys, like sometimes we'll have a class and like a bunch of guys show up and like there's like way more guys than girls like 10, 15 minutes before class. And I'm like, wow. And I ask everybody like, hey, how'd you hear about us? Like what brings you to our class? And a lot of these guys are like, hey, you guys are pretty open. It's not like these bougie like yoga studios that are like just a bunch of women, like they don't want you sweating on them.
Yeah.
He's like, they're like, here, we can smoke, we can chill. And they were just felt comfortable there. That was one of our goals from the beginning, was to make sure people felt comfortable and like welcome at our events, and it did. So we got pretty good. We got a lot of people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we even got like doctors and nurses that were trying to learn about the endocannabinoid system and
That's
about
really
cannabis.
cool to get people like that out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, we did. We got all kind of people, all kind. We even got like sometimes we got some people brought their kids. Like we weren't smoking in venues at the time.
Yeah.
We would smoke like outside because sometimes I've had it in so many places. I had it in my gym. In my gym we were smoking. I would rent out studios or spots in Hoboken, but we couldn't smoke there yet. So we would have to smoke outside. So
Yep.
people would bring their kids to the yoga event, and even their parents. Sometimes we had like 3 generations at our yoga events.
How frequently were you doing those events?
We were trying to do them. We were doing them at least once a month. Honestly,
yep.
We wanted to be frequent. We wanted to be consistent. We wanted to eventually become known for yoga, and we ended up doing yoga every month, sometimes twice a month, sometimes multiple states from 2017 until the pandemic, 2020. We were doing monthly, by sometimes like 4, 5, 6, 8 events a month.
Good work rate right there.
Doing, yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of cannabis yoga, it was great. It was great.
So like September of 2018, I think it was, we got in contact somehow, one way
Yeah.
or the other. And you invited me to one of your events down in Hoboken that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I recall going down there. You set up an awesome vibe. Where was that? Where was that event? Do you remember?
Colo Club?
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
that sounds
Colo
about
Club
right.
above the beer garden in Hoboken.
So I go in there. You have a cool vibe set up. I've been doing yoga for probably like 2 years at that point, but I never did yoga with anybody else or in front of anybody else. So it was like a new experience for me. And I remember you handed me a piece of chocolate, and I promptly slapped that whole thing of chocolate in my mouth. And you said to me, "Oh, you ate that whole thing." I should have realized at that point that was that was a cannabis chocolate. And I do remember being in pigeon pose, and everybody was like looking straight ahead. And when I picked my head up, I was horizontal in the opposite direction. So that was my one memory of that. But it was a great time. That was a great event. And I did buy some CBD that night, some CBD oil that I had used that worked out really well.
Nice.
At that event, I think you had some vendors, and you started talking to me about like legislation for legalizing marijuana. Can you tell me a little bit about your place in that battle?
Yeah, so pretty much, a lot of people fought that battle before me, honestly. I just kind of came in and as an educator. And also I worked with other advocates and state officials on educating them on the endocannabinoid system, on how to create safe environments for consumption, and also, breaking the stigma. In New Jersey, we have a saying that the hardest people to talk to about cannabis are Black and Spanish religious people. Like, it's super difficult to talk to them about cannabis because their communities have been affected by the war on drugs so badly that they don't want to touch it.
Uh-huh.
You know, like they've lost, fathers, brothers to cannabis. They've lost help from the state because of cannabis. They can get deported because of cannabis.
Jobs are hard to come by, so on.
Yes, exactly. So they don't want to touch it versus, white people in cannabis, white people in the community, you ask them, they're like, oh yeah, sure. Like, I used to smoke back in the day, back in college,
Definitely looking at it from a different angle.
It's different. It's very different. So I kind of came in and helped out with a lot of, diverse communities, minority communities, black and brown communities affected by the war on drugs. And, that's always a battle that needs to be worked on because there's this, elected officials have to be re-educated. They also think a lot of it's crazy how much it's changed the perception in just these last few years.
It is weird talking about it now
is.
to think back just a couple of years ago.
It's just like you say, it was like 2018, like 6 years, was it 6 years?
6 years
5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah.
5
not even
years ago.
6, yeah.
There were some elected officials that were still saying that cannabis is a great gateway drug, while other people and doctors are using it as an exit drug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So things are changing, and it's because of education, so that was my part in the whole advocacy scene. I did help out in a lot of events where it connected like businesses to businesses and also educating the community. So I think those events really helped change the industry and helped push legislation. One thing that stuck with me that I remember hearing at a High and Y event that some of these guys in the suits might have not heard, but it was that education accelerates any industry, right? Like think of even like food or makeup. Like the more you learn about the product or about it, the quicker the industry is going to grow. And so I kept that in mind for cannabis, and I knew that like people are medicating with cannabis. So as long as I can figure out a way to show them how everyone can use it to medicate, and there's business and tax opportunities for the community that will help it redevelop. A lot of these communities that were affected by the war on drugs can use an industry, a new emerging industry, a positive one.
Oh, yeah.
In their community, like cannabis.
And when was marijuana legalized then?
I think it became medical around like 20 in New Jersey. I don't know. I'm going to say like
Wasn't very long ago. Right?
2016 or something.
Okay.
Around there, 2000 and like there was a couple like medical dispensaries open. It was like first like one, then like 3, then like 6. It was kind of like a really slow rollout. And now I think we have like over 50, 60 dispensaries, which is great.
So recreational marijuana was made legal 2021?
Yeah. Yeah.
And was that the year on 420
Yeah.
that you went to Times Square, right? And
Yeah. Everybody just gathers everywhere in New York City on 420.
yeah, okay,
Like,
okay.
Washington Square Park, Central Park, Times Square. And it was an interesting time because that was like after the pandemic. It was, we've been looking forward for 420 on 2020 for so long.
Yeah.
And they ruined it for us. We still had a little 420 party, Steph and I, in 2020, but nothing big or planned. So on 2021, we gathered with everybody in Times Square. It was also the first time that I think you were like able to smoke cannabis in New York City. So we took advantage of that. We got a friend, Sean Scott, a photographer, to take pictures of us in Times Square while we did acroyoga and smoked weed. And a couple cops like walked past us and just let us do our thing. Like they
Must
let
have been
everyone.
an interesting moment.
Yeah. So it was definitely an interesting moment, cool shots, and then we actually rented like a theater, like a block away, and we did a 420 cannabis yoga event that day where we had DJs and vendors, and we partied and food and everything. It was a great time.
Must have been like a different type of celebration at that point, right?
It felt a little freer because like more legal, like
the
you're less
pandemic
worried.
was kind of smoothing out. It was legal. It's like a whole different.
After the pandemic, yeah, it was
Yeah.
legal,
Question for you. Now, you were running events, and then when the pandemic hit, how did that affect your events? Did you just cancel
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah, there was no more events, and we actually started doing free yoga videos online for the community. We're like, wow, this is the first time we can't do yoga events for our community, and our community was asking us to do yoga, and at the time we were in a lockdown.
Yep.
So we did it on Zoom, and we did it on YouTube and Instagram, and it went great. Actually, we built another community through those classes, and we were able to help a lot of people heal and recover from things that were going on that time.
It was really important at that point for people to have community.
Yeah,
Definitely.
100%. Yeah, mentally and physically, very important. I have a saying that, if you're trying to overcome something by yourself, it's a lot more difficult than if you have a group or a community or a pack. Like just look at animals.
Yeah.
Like some animals, most animals heal better in a community. Like a dog will always heal better in a pack versus alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that tends to also be the case with people. Like, yeah, you do need some alone time to heal, but you also need community and cooperation and just support from
for
others.
Sure. For sure. Because I know even I had to cancel all the hikes at that point too. We had all these things scheduled.
Yeah.
And we wound up just, see, I can't do yoga or can't do hikes over Zoom necessarily, but we just got on Zoom. Instead of meeting up in the woods, we would just meet up on Zoom, and it really helped out a lot of people.
Nice.
When you started SannaOhana, I want to go back a little bit. How did people in your life perceive you kind of branching out on your own and creating your own community? I'm really interested. I'm really, really interested in you, particularly because I'm fascinated with people that start their own thing.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be. You
Yeah.
find your niche and you run with it.
Yeah.
And you get mixed reactions from people. Some people kind of, I feel like, look at it as if like you're pursuing a hobby. And some people will look at it as a bigger thing. I'm just interested to know, how did people react to it?
Oh, I mean, of course, I got mixed reactions. A lot of people thought I was crazy. They're like, "Why are you getting into cannabis? It's like unstable. It's this. It's that. You're drug dealing. You're combining cannabis and yoga. Like it's a lot." And even some traditional yoga people were like, "How dare you combine cannabis and yoga?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like cannabis and yoga started together. Like they're both from the Ganges River from Nepal. They use it to medicate and be centered, and like people have been using cannabis as medicine in ancient times and all over the world for a long time. So again, I'm the kind of person that when people think I'm doing something wrong or crazy, I'm like, okay, I must be doing something right.
Yep.
So and I knew that it was beneficial for me and beneficial for others, and I knew that eventually there would be a future in it. So I just stuck with it. You got to go after what you believe, and I believed in it. It worked for me and Steph tremendously, and why wouldn't it work for others?
Yeah.
And there'd be a big benefit in it. So
Speaking of which, does anybody come into your community hurting or unable to do something? Is there a success story that you would point to?
Oh my God, so many. honestly.
So many, too many.
So many. Like, I have a really close friend of mine. She unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago, and she's been using cannabis to like overcome, a lot of just overcome cancer, overcome it mentally, physically. But she started doing yoga with us. I think she had a seizure, and it affected one of her sides. And doing yoga with us and cannabis helped her get her movement back to what it was. We have people that say they've had injuries for years. They come, they'll take CBD, they say their injury will feel better, then they'll do yoga, and they'll say they've never felt better, and they now they realize what they need to do. They need to move, they need to use the breath and self-awareness to heal.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we really try to teach, is that, yoga is unity through self-awareness and breathing and movement and also stillness. But once you discover this self-awareness, you discover that everyone else needs the same thing that you need, and that's that unity that we all have.
So where do you see SannaOhana going in like the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to envision we're actually, we have cannabis licenses in New Jersey, in our hometown in North Bergen, New Jersey. So we're hoping to have Sanna be now a cannabis brand, an official wellness brand, that uses cannabis and cannabis products to help people, of all kinds, and just build more wellness and fitness awareness to themselves and to the cannabis industry. So eventually our goal, honestly, our end goal is to be able to provide free health and wellness to people, and free even cannabis help. We give people free cannabis, CBD, Rick Simpson oil, or full extract cannabis oil, whatever they need. If someone's sick and they don't have money, no problem, So that's our goal, is to eventually just help create a great brand, to have education and healthy products, and also to just offer it for free to anyone.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And you did say that you're working on building a dispensary?
Dispensary, yep, in North Bergen,
talk a little bit about that?
and a cultivation and manufacturing. Yeah, I could talk about that. The company's called Hud House. Named after
House.
Hudson County.
There you go. Represent.
We love representing. Very happy that our partners, Pharaoh Demetrios, and even Kyle Anderson, were all from North Bergen. North Bergen, born and raised, went to high school there, grew up there, have businesses there. We love our community. Our community has done a lot for us, and we want to do a lot for our community. Not just our community, but all of Hudson County, all of New Jersey, the East Coast, all the United States. We feel like with the team that we have and the intentions that we have, we can make a great impact. So we're super excited.
Do you have an idea when that's going to open up?
Yeah, we hope to open first quarter of next year, January, February,
Amazing.
March.
That's awesome.
April of next year, hopefully. And yeah, it's going to be a beautiful place, dope place. Can't wait to have you guys there and have great products and great events and education.
I'm looking forward to checking that out already.
Yeah, for
from
sure.
what I've heard you say.
Yeah.
I'm going to go off the topic a little bit.
Okay.
You were recently in a movie.
Yeah.
You were in Bless Me Father.
Yeah.
And you play Pablo, a
Yeah.
Colombian drug lord.
It's like I was like a Colombian drug dealer.
Colombian drug dealer. And
Typical, stereotypical.
stereotypical. And you were like the catalyst for the lead.
Yeah.
Gianni McLaughlin, is that his name?
Yeah.
The
Great friend of
writer,
mine.
director, and the lead actor.
He's a beast.
Amazing.
Amazing.
I watched the movie.
Yeah.
It was a great movie.
Awesome.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Reminds me of like the old mobster. It was.
Yeah.
It was a mobster movie. I love mobster
But
movies.
with a little modern
A little modern flair to it.
and local.
local all the way. I was recognizing places left and right.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So Gianni was introduced to me by one of our mutual best friends, Giacomo Vanacore, who owns Sorrentina and Vico in North Bergen.
Oh yeah, okay. He's also in the movie.
He's
right?
also in the movie.
I know. I reckon.
Yeah.
I noticed him right away.
Sick actor, also not even an
Amazing.
actor. Like
He's great.
He did like a short film before that, and then he did this movie, and he crushed it.
He's a natural.
And Giacomo introduced Gianni and I a couple years ago, and then Gianni started coming to our acroyoga classes in Hoboken at the academy.
Okay.
And we met. He was just a friend that was taking our acroyoga classes, and we were chilling, having a good time. And then he brought his girlfriend, who's his wife now, Millie. She's amazing. Brought her to acroyoga. We met there. We all had a good time, and we became friends. And we became close friends. And he just hit me up during the pandemic. Like, he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm doing a movie," and I'm like, all right. And then he's like, "I'm kind of looking for some actors," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I'm like, I'm like, "What are you looking for?" He's like, "I'm looking for somebody who's like a Colombian, like drug dealer and a fighter, like a coke dealer and a fighter, and because I want a fight scene in the movie." And I'm like, "All right, well, I'm Colombian. I don't sell coke. I don't do coke either, but I could fight,
Yep.
And then he's like, I'm like, "Do you want me in the movie?" He's like, "Yeah, well, I was kind of thinking if like you wanted to do it." I was like, "Dude, that's all.
great.
I'd love to, you
Yep.
know." So then he got me involved, and he got a lot of his friends involved.
Yep.
And the rest is history. We put a lot of effort, Hudson County effort into that movie,
Uh-huh.
and
How'd you find that experience? Because that's our world. Here
Yeah.
here at Stillwell, we're all film and TV crew. So when I saw that you were in a movie, I'm like, that's an interesting crossover there too.
Yeah.
How'd you find that experience being an actor on set?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I kind of felt like I had like a little fight scene, so I was kind of getting pampered a little bit. Like they were like spraying me with like
Making you look sweaty and all
making
that, right?
me look sweaty and the
Yep.
makeup and all this, and like I was like, "Oh wow, this is really professional." I thought it was gonna be like some like YouTube movie or something. Like he was gonna film on his phone and a camera, and it was gonna be Millie, but it was not. Like he had a full crew.
Full crew,
Yeah.
quiet on set.
Quiet on set, and multiple cuts, multiple scenes. Like we filmed the fight scene for like an hour. It was awesome. I had a really good time filming that, knocking them out like 20, 30 times. We punched each other multiple times. I think he punched me first, like off the rip real quick. And I'm like, all right, I think this,
You could do that then.
so I'm going to do it too, So it was good. And yeah, it was just a pleasure and an honor. And then I was blown away when I saw the end of the film.
Finished product is always an interesting thing
I
to
was
see.
like, wow, this is great. And he did a lot of it himself, so it's
That's
awesome.
an amazing part too.
Yeah.
Multi-talented.
Yeah.
Writing, directing, and
Acting,
being in the
editing
movie.
too. He edited like crazy. I think he hired a director, but he edited the whole movie.
It's amazing.
Which
It really is
was a lot of
amazing.
work.
And it was a good movie. You could check it out on Prime,
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Bless Me Father.
Bless Me Father. You could rent it. You could buy it. Highly suggested. Super entertaining. A lot of fun.
I mean, see Salam in a movie. Come on.
Yeah, you're gonna see me in a movie.
So now, give me some advice. If somebody's looking to start their own thing, just give me some advice.
What kind of thing?
Like their own niche brand or community.
Okay.
Just a little piece of advice.
In cannabis or outside of cannabis?
Just in general.
In general, yeah, good question. So, honestly, you got to be authentic. That's like, to me, that's one of the most important energies to have for yourself, even for your health, is to be authentic, but also for your brand. Especially in our area, like we appreciate authenticity. You know what I mean? So I highly suggest being authentic, being true to your belief, your intentions. Sticking to it. Sometimes I feel like people stray away from their original goal and their original task, and sometimes you just stick to the plan, the original plan. And also, I like to do business in a way where I feel like everyone is happy. Like both sides have to be happy. The individual, like the person, the customer, the seller, the buyer, is very fair, very positive atmosphere. So I highly suggest that. And also team. Team is extremely important. Make sure you have the right team. I know a lot of hustlers out there. You want to do it yourself. That's great. You could be a hustler. You could do it yourself. But to accomplish huge, impossible things, sometimes you need a team, especially when it's like a huge field that you don't know too much about, and you need professionals. Like you need lawyers, you need accountants.
Yep.
You make sure you trademark your stuff. Somebody will take it. Get everything down right. Business plan, investors. Be careful. There's a lot of predators out there. There's a lot of predatory practices, even in real estate. From real estate to be vigilant. Like nothing is sweet. All the time. Like you got to be careful. Cut your grass low. Watch out for snakes.
I like that.
And yeah, just follow your heart and stay conscious. Be conscious.
Give me one more piece of advice. What's something somebody could do tomorrow, in general, to improve their wellness? Wow. Anything. Just whatever you want to say.
Honestly, the most powerful thing is your breath. Like, focus on your breath. You breathe 23,000 times a day. You eat a few times a day. You drink a few times a day. If you want to improve anything, focus on your breath. You could use your breath to heal and discover anything inside of you, physically, mentally, energetically, can be unlocked with your breath. Also, energy and vibrations, like very important. Everything is energy and vibrations. Protect your energy. Be grateful, gratitude, be authentic. And also use sea salt and lemon in your water as much as possible.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Is there either a book or a person or, philosophy that you would recommend somebody to look into if they wanted to kind of get a little more on your level?
Oh, man. There's so many people I've learned from.
Give me just one. Because I want people to watch this and then just go search that thing or that person.
Barbara O'Neill, I've been learning so much about health and wellness from this last year or two. She's like an Australian nurse. I'll just leave it at that. Look up Barbara O'Neill.
Let's leave it at that. Look up Barbara O'Neill. You got some questions for me?
Sure. I was just thinking, like I mentioned before, like do like a reverse interview, be like, I got some questions.
Yeah.
So like what's one of the best things you learned about your hikes?
Like that I learned about from the hikes?
Yeah.
Resilience. Yeah. I see it in a lot of my group members. I've had people start in my group doing 1 to 3 miles and feeling it. And they're taking 20 miles in a day. And just to see what human achievement can look like, uninhibited, out in nature, like, real primal. Yeah. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing.
Awesome.
Pushing limits all the way.
Pushing limits. Can I add something to that?
Please.
Because I've actually been studying something now. I've been studying like this Norwegian method of training that a lot of like world-class Norwegian champions. I don't know if you've noticed. There's like a bunch of Norwegians like winning race championships in the last couple of years, and they have this like style of training that a lot of like Kenyan runners use, and that's like it's like never going past like 80% of your threshold of your like your capacity, because again, if you go you overtrain, you can't recover or grow as well and perform as well. So Norwegians have like those one runner, just kind of look into it, but it's pretty much like not going over 80%. So it's like pushing your limits. It's like knowing your limits, but also kind of like working like right below there comfortably. And then you can go like long term. And I think that's kind of what happens with your
little by little it builds. You know? And I think what's most interesting about what you said is that I feel like when most people come into something like this, or they look at, let's say they did a 3-mile hike one week and they're kind of feeling a little bit, then they're thinking in their head that like, oh well, I can't do 5, but then they easily knock off 5. And some of those same people might be thinking they're using 100%, but they're really only using like 50. And I've been amazed because at the ends of a lot of these long ones, like I do a lot of big ones throughout the year, and when you do a big hike, and there's certain people at certain times will come into it with a little bit of trepidation and they're a little unsure, and then at the end to see that they could easily still go miles and miles and miles, and they got a smile on their face, and they're happy as hell to have done that, and then what usually happens is after that, they'll start talking about the next big one they want to do and the bigger one they want to do. And I just love that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And another thing I'd like to mention is to be conscious of breathing more through your nose.
Yes.
Like even hiking, like even in running, and like the Norwegians do this also, but like a lot of sports, even in grappling, they'll try to, in runners, they'll try to just breathe through their nose, and that will make sure that they're in that threshold, like not going, because sometimes you breathe through your mouth and you want to go 90 or 100%, but if you can't do that too much, breathing through your nose. So if you just keep at just running, working out. I've even been doing that in the gym a lot. I've been like working out just like through my nose, and I used to be like a huge mouth breather in the gym, trying to create like maximum force or effort per rep or whatever. But now I'm like, wow, I feel more comfortable, and like I'm creating more growth also at like these like lower levels of intensity, even though I do believe you need intensity for growth to some extent, but you also need lower intensity for growth. So one way I like to explain it, when you breathe out of your mouth, a lot of your energy comes out. It's your sympathetic nervous system.
There you go. See, it's a better explanation than I can give.
It's I learned this from Joe Dispenza, also somebody else to like look into. He's amazing with like breathing and healing and energy. He has TED Talks and everything. But he talks about how your sympathetic nervous system is always like scanning for stress. So it increases your heart rate and stress. But when you breathe in through your nose, your energy goes inward, and it's your parasympathetic nervous system. It's like your organs, your internal, and your heart rate goes down and your stress goes down when you do a lot of nasal breathing. So just something to add to the hikes, and for your people to be aware of, because I think it'll also help connect with the environment too.
Definitely a good tip.
Yeah. Another question. Have you used any cannabis or psychedelics on your hikes? And what was your experience?
We definitely have used cannabis on the hikes. Actually, I'll tell you. So the first time I was hiking with one of my partners back then, and he says to me, like, I forgot how he brought it up, but he said he was going to smoke. This is when I first started hiking with him, and we were just starting Proactive up. And he said he was going to smoke. And at that point, I had been hiking myself solo for a while, and I had never smoked on a hike. In my mind, I imagined if I did smoke on a hike that I would be like disorientated and like confused, and I wouldn't be able to move as fast. And he assured me, no, trust me, if you smoke on this hike or you smoke on a mountain, you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
And then, we smoked on that hike. And then 10 minutes later, I remember trail running downhill. And there was just something about the way my eyes were catching my feet and everything, all the surroundings. And I did realize that it was a positive benefit. It was a plus. It was not a negative.
Yeah.
And then there for a while, we would smoke on the hikes. It wasn't like a consistent thing or a selling point.
Yeah.
But it was welcomed, and it was never discouraged or anything. So we had done that for quite a while. And every now and then I do it myself. on the hike still.
I'm glad I asked this question. I brought this up. I'd like to also add being outdoors to one of the things that stimulates your endocannabinoid system, because I forgot to mention that too, is the environment, because you're surrounded by terpenes and cannabinoids.
That's it. Yep.
You know, and just nature itself, like the energy that nature has, is always so positive and stimulating for your spine, your organs, your brain, your energy. So it's definitely 100% beneficial. And I know there's a part of the brain that gets stimulated when you look at the ground to scan for movement. So it's also very healthy to like walk and run and bike or cycle or anything like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
For sure, yeah. Highly recommend it, pun intended. But last question.
Shoot.
Where do you want to take proactive? Like, what's like one of your dreams and like an accomplishment that you want to achieve?
I think if I had to narrow it down, obviously it's going to be build the community and build the brand, which is a very general thing to say.
Yeah.
But what I would really hope to do over time through all different methods, I want to wind up. There's a thing called the Adirondack Mountain Club. It's a good instance, right? They own property throughout certain regions where there's hiking and outdoors available, and they sort of allow their members to stay there, eat there, go there. It's like a hub.
Wow.
And I would love nothing more than to at some point slowly start acquiring property for different proactive clubhouses in different regions.
Yeah.
That we would welcome members, educate people on the outdoors.
Yeah.
Let them have adventures from there, being a jumping point. So it's definitely leaving a legacy on those properties is what my number one goal is. That's what I'm working towards.
Awesome. Great idea.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get some land myself.
Land, although plentiful, it can be hard to come by. Or it's hard to acquire, I guess I should say.
Yeah, with things going on now, but who knows? The real estate market is up and down, and
I'm a delusional optimist.
Yeah,
and
me too.
So I
I
know.
call it being blindly positive.
There you go. So we have the same. It's just like the
Delusional
same thing.
optimist. I really like that
That's
one.
what I like
a
to
good
call
one.
myself, is a delusional optimist. So even though things are not exactly set up for that right now, I know within the next couple of years, with a little bit of elbow grease, I'll get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your biggest wish for your community, like for the people that come on your?
What I always want everybody to do that come out with me, I want them to recognize that they're able to achieve more than they may think.
Yeah.
And that means something different for everybody. But, and it doesn't even mean as far as hiking is concerned. Like, I want people to come out and feel inspired to either hike more miles, get in better shape, quit the job they hate, strike out on their own. I want to inspire people to kind of achieve more than they are or more than they expected they can.
Yeah.
And that's a very broad goal. And Proactive I never started Proactive as just hiking. Like, it was never in my mind just to be a hiking group. I always wanted it to be more about being proactive, meaning in every aspect of their life. Hiking just happens to be what I like to do. So that's what I base it around. And it also is a good tool to kind of get people out of their comfort zone and to get people thinking for all the reasons we talked about. But it's definitely about just inspiring people to do more, achieve more.
You know what I love about hiking and about what you do, that it's kind of like a metaphor to just doing things like one step at a time.
Yeah.
Like little by little, and you could accomplish big, great things.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's like a huge thing in hiking and like what you've been able to do. And I think the connection that people get with themselves and with others and with the environment, that's huge. I feel like connection is lacking in our world.
Overall, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is why there's so many internal issues and external issues. And even addiction, connection is apparently the opposite of addiction. According to Dr. Gabor Mate, He's a leading scientist and doctor on addiction out of Canada. Definitely suggest looking him up.
Okay.
Gabor Mate, Dr. Gabor Mate, but he's the one that I learned about years ago, that connection is the opposite of addiction. Because I even thought, like, am I addicted to cannabis? So I looked up like addiction, and I ran into him and I studied him, and that kind of helped out. But I think the connection that you create, honestly, is amazing, you know, because you're creating it with the individual, a community, and again, the environment.
Yep.
Like, we need all three to act as a catalyst for change, for great change.
100%. I 100% agree with you on that.
We got to collaborate.
We definitely need to collaborate.
Well, I mean, I did want to collaborate with you, but we've just been so busy with these licenses these last 2 years. It's
Yep.
pretty much been like a little over 2 years working on these licenses, that it's been insane. But damn, it's not too late to collaborate
Not at all.
this year, right? Like, I'm trying to do
this year. I think we could still probably pull something out this year.
Squeeze one in.
I think we could.
Yeah, all right.
We'll talk about that. We'll
talk
figure that
about
out for sure.
Check out a collaboration coming soon.
What is it? We don't know yet, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and you know what's involved.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I like that.
cool.
Let's work that out, man. Word association.
Ready?
Bored.
Never.
Busy.
It's good sometimes.
Creativity.
Necessary.
Adventure.
Necessary.
Acting.
Act authentic.
Cannabis.
Smoke it.
Smoke it. Wrestling.
Life.
Doubt.
Believe.
Contentment.
Just enjoy it, you know. Create as much of it. Create it, you know. Whatever. So more words.
Community.
Embrace.
Yoga.
Unity.
All right, Salam, is there anything else you want to say to everybody?
Oh man, so much. But I will say love, peace, and unity and gratitude can overcome anything. So keep those energies close to you, and go for more hikes. Do more yoga. Try some more cannabis. What works from you? Maybe microdosing mushrooms. I took one earlier. Check out Hut House. And, you know, just wish you all the best. You know, enjoy your life, enjoy the world, and do good.
Salam, thanks for coming out. Where can they find you on social media?
They can find me on, SannaOhana.com is our website. Our Instagram is Sanna CBD Yoga, SANNA CBD Yoga. My personal Instagram is Salam, SALAM 2 O, the letter O 1. Facebook, my phone number. Can't have that, sorry. And I'm in North Bergen. I'm going to be at Hut House, beautiful dispensary
House.
opening up early next year. We'd love to have you, and that's where you can catch me.
Salam, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
Been a good time.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm Joe. Find me at Proactive AHW, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. That's Jared, and that's it.
Also, start a backyard garden.
Backyard garden.
Start growing in your garden.
I don't have a garden.
Anybody. Your balcony or on your window,
On my windowsill, I have a cactus on my windowsill.
you could
so
grow
that's-
like microgreens.